Good morning, Commissioner Makary.
Good
Welcome
morning.
to AFPI. We're delighted to have you here.
Great to be here.
For our viewers, we've got Commissioner Marty Makary. He is the 27th Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration, confirmed on a bipartisan vote by the United States Senate, and doing really great work over at the FDA under the leadership of
thank
Secretary
you.
Kennedy and President Trump. And we're just really excited to have you here this morning.
We're trying our best. Thanks so much, Hannah. Good to be with you.
I mean, your best is pretty good. And I know that you stated as you started out at the FDA that your two main priorities were, one, to get more cures for Americans, and two, to make sure we have healthy food for America's children. And so, really on the first goal, more cures for Americans, the FDA has pushed out so much. I mean, what would you say are some of your most proud accomplishments in getting cures for Americans?
Well, that's right. We have very clear goals. In the last administration, the prior commissioner said that his number one goal was fighting misinformation. Well, our number one goal is...
Tough for the FDA.
It's amazing. We're not interested in censoring Americans. Our goals are very clear. More cures and meaningful treatments for Americans and healthier food for children.
Yeah.
And so on the cure side, we are reducing the red tape. For example, we are moving towards a default one clinical trial required for drugs and devices, not two, as has been previously the default number. You can actually get the same statistical, mathematical power with one well-designed trial instead of two. Saves a lot of money on the R&D side, along with our new announcements that we're eliminating unnecessary animal testing requirements for drugs. It shortens the time for R&D, lowers the cost, translates into lower prices, and we're making our decision letters public. So if we reject a drug, the public deserves to know why, and it allows drug developers to understand how the FDA thinks. So it's not a black box. It's very predictable.
Yeah.
Markets like predictability. Scientists like predictability.
And you've got the radical transparency, which is good not just for the American public, but you're saying the companies so they can learn from mistakes. They can learn, again, how your reviewers are thinking. And this is one thing that I've always loved about this HHS is the dedication to science. And so you say, you know what, we don't have to follow the bureaucratic rules of the past. We can follow what is the latest in scientific innovation, technology progress, and helping you evaluate these things. The FDA, I think, was also the very first agency across the United States government to implement AI in a way that balances patient safety with also acceleration for cures.
Yeah, we've got to modernize. So we not only were one of the first to get AI as a tool for our scientists, but agentic AI, which helps with the workflow. It's the latest generation AI. So we're going to streamline things. We're modernizing. We're cutting the red tape. We're getting a tremendous positive response.
And again, all the technological progress and even things in clinical trials, like what are y'all doing there?
So one of the examples of the bureaucracy that has slowed things down is the FDA has so many rules on what type of real-world data can be used in applications for drugs and devices. Well, we're getting rid of those restrictions. You can send in whatever real-world data you want. Now, if it's junk data, we're not going to approve it on junk data, but we're now allowing real-world evidence to be used in drug and device applications. Why were we requiring two species of animal testing when a drug's already approved in Europe and used in tens of thousands of people?
Wow.
So we're bringing common sense to the drug side, and the goal is to deliver to the American people a cure or meaningful treatment for type 1 diabetes, for neurodegenerative disorders, for certain types of stage 4 cancer, for things like PTSD that many soldiers and others that have experienced trauma suffer from. So we want to see cures and meaningful treatments, and if we do it right, it will have a tremendous impact on healthcare because these powerful treatments reduce downstream healthcare utilization. Mm-hmm. And we've said very openly, if you have a drug or device that is going to lower the downstream use of healthcare, that is, reduce the number of dialysis sessions or insulin shots or eliminate the need for surgery, as a new potential drug has demonstrated, then those are things we're particularly interested in. We're going to give those companies a priority voucher to get decisions out in a record 1 to 2 months instead of the longer year process. And if you are going to follow. And if the company is going to make their drugs affordable, a massive priority for President Trump, then we're going to issue that company a priority voucher.
Which is great, because you're talking about the things that are really critical to making Americans healthy again. You're talking about better, more curative treatments and cures. You're talking about cheaper so more people can afford them. You're talking about safer because you're getting better science and more transparent science. And you're making sure patients are really well informed about what they're taking. And it's just, again, tremendous effort. In 1 year, right? My goodness,
Yeah.
You have 3 more years.
Yeah, we've been in there almost 9 months, and we've got
Not even a full year.
Not even full year. We have 35 major reforms we've announced, and we're going to keep going.
I love it. And so the other side of your goals is the one that I think a lot of folks are much more familiar with, which is, ending the chronic disease crisis in children. So you said one of your goals is to make sure that children have healthy food, and the FDA is leading the way there. What have y'all done on that goal?
Well, first of all, when we talk about health reform, the politicians have really just been talking about financing the broken system that we've inherited. We've got to move to start to talk about how to fix healthcare. And the way we fix it is we address the 2 root causes that have been taboo, that nobody's been wanting to talk about, and that is the health of the population and the price of goods and services, like the prices of drugs that we are aggressively lowering right now. So on the health of the population, we took action within weeks to remove the 9 petroleum-based food dyes from the U.S. food supply.
My goodness.
They've been talking about this for 35 years at the FDA.
And y'all did it in what, 3 weeks?
We did it in a matter of weeks, and we did it for all 9 artificial food dyes.
Right.
And we also approved natural dyes using natural ingredients so companies can have cost-neutral alternatives to use.
That's awesome.
So normally the FDA would approve 1 every couple years. We just approved 6. And we're going to keep going. We're going to innovate. We're going to cut the red tape, and we want to see a healthier food supply. We are rewriting the food pyramid along with USDA with the help of Brooke Rollins. And so we're seeing now a renaissance. We're seeing Republican, Democrat, independent moms show up in high numbers to vote for President Trump over this issue of the health of children.
Yeah.
And so we are rewriting that food pyramid. It's broken. It was written by the industry. It was not telling people the truth. We are going to tell people the truth when it comes to hormone replacement therapy for postmenopausal women. An amazing expert panel that resulted in us taking action. We got tremendous positive feedback on that. An issue that's been rarely talked about. We told people the truth. We took action, and we're doing the same with the food pyramid. We are going to tell people the truth about grains, about protein, about saturated fat. We're going to end a 50-year war on saturated natural fats, whereby children were highly encouraged to avoid and tiptoe around healthy fats in their diet. We're going to tell people the truth, and I think it's going to have a tremendous impact on school lunches, on the food at military bases, on school boards. We're going to see now a healthy discussion about the fact that American children have been getting food that is causing a chronic disease epidemic. The solution is not drugging them at scale.
No, and I love that because, one of the things that we've noticed at the department was, that they were giving skim milk to 1 and 2-year-olds in the Head Start program. And that's one of the first things that you and Secretary Kennedy and the other physicians that make up the top leadership at HHS said, we have to change this. Because giving skim milk to 1-year-olds is not consistent with what most people understand as a nutritious diet. But that's what the federal standards have required over the years.
It's been a 50-year dogma that natural saturated fats were the root problem of our obesity and diabetes epidemic. It's just not based on good science. If you look at the theory that Ansel Keys propagated over that 50-year period, it didn't hold up when the studies were done. What we now know, it's refined carbohydrates and foods that increase inflammation, including highly processed foods, that are hurting the bodies, that are affecting the physiology of children. And then we wonder why 40% of our nation's kids are sick and they're crying out for help sometimes. The solution is not drugging our nation's kids at scale. We need to talk about school lunch programs, not just putting 6-year-olds on Ozempic. We have to talk about the SNAP waiver program, which, thanks to USDA, we have now, for the first time ever, an ability to not use taxpayer dollars for junk food and sugary drinks. And so we've got to change the conversation from just operating and prescribing drugs to the health and food supply of our nation's children.
So the commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration is finally taking a look at food and drugs.
That's right.
Not just drugs.
That's right. The F stands for food.
Innovative.
It's not federal.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I love that. And, again, we've talked a lot about, and Secretary Kennedy talks a lot about, we can't just rearrange deck chairs on the Titanic. And so, we've had a national conversation on just what you were talking about, the underpinnings of our health finance system through Obamacare. I, again, really love how HHS and this administration is taking a new approach, because you're really looking at what needs to change with the foundation of the system that we at AFPI have written about a lot as failing the patient on Obamacare, not just a failing financial system. So what are y'all thinking through, and when you think about Obamacare, not just subsidies, but really, again, changing the foundation of the system?
Well, I come from a health policy and public health research background at Johns Hopkins, and any objective assessment of Obamacare has to acknowledge that its promise to lower the price of health care failed. I mean, you can be a supporter of it, but that is an objective assessment that everybody agrees. It has not been able to address the rising cost of healthcare in the United States that's now crushing businesses and everyday Americans. And so what are we going to do? Well, we're going to address the root issues, and that is we're going to lower drug prices, not by 2 or 5%. We're talking about getting drug prices down to 10 or 20 cents on the dollar. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the price of one IVF treatment that we announced from the Oval Office coming down from $243 to $10.
Yeah.
For GLP-1s to come down from $1,300 to $149 a month. So we're not interested in small little things around the edges. We're talking about massive radical reductions in prices.
Yeah.
And we're interested in improving the health of the population. So that's the fun part of the job, is we coordinate and work together as a team to talk about how can we promote healthier living and healthier lifestyles.
And again, that's one of the things that I think a lot of Americans assume, the Department of Health and Human Services all works collaboratively. We know both from the past that's never been the case. And this is the first time that you and Dr. Oz and Dr. Bhattacharya, along with Secretary Kennedy, make a really collaborative team. And so, this is why I can have the FDA commissioner here talking about not just the Food and Drug Administration, but talking about our healthcare system overall. Because y'all are all very steeped in what matters most, which is the health of the person.
Yes.
And so, with that, one of the things you've written about extensively and what we love at AFPI is price transparency. And I don't think a lot of people in the health policy community, make the connection between price transparency and affordability. But you've written books on it. Can you tell us a little bit about how that's connected and why, President Trump's reform means so much for affordability?
Well, lowering drug prices is such a massive team effort in this administration. The FDA is doing its part to move drugs to over-the-counter. And let me tell you what that does. When a drug is now on the shelf on a store and you see the price underneath it, something magical happens to all prices globally. They come down because there's competition, and it's a price that you can see right in front of your eyes, as opposed to going behind the pharmacy counter where 5 different middlemen are each skimming off the system, and your employer's paying a part, and everybody's taking a little piece of the pie, and you don't even know what's going on. And so basic medications that are low cost can cost a ton of money to you or your employer when they're behind the counter, and it shows up in the form of your health insurance premium being higher. And so what's happened is Americans have become numb to the money games of healthcare's middlemen.
Yeah.
And they're so sophisticated. Look, I studied them in and out at Johns Hopkins, and they are constantly changing. And you can create rules to stop bad behavior, but the ultimate solution is to convert a non-competitive market to a competitive market. And when a drug is on the store shelf over the counter and you see the price, prices stay in check. And so why are drugs prescription only? Why do you need a prescription for drugs? Well, maybe if they're dangerous or you need lab tests like liver function tests or they are addictive, that makes sense. But for most drugs, they could be over the counter. So we are making a massive push to get more medications over the counter where you will see prices and price transparency will work to keep prices in check. The middlemen don't like it, but you're going to see a powerful effect.
Which is crazy because under the Trump administration, the last time signed in an awesome package of price transparency rules, including lifting a gag clause on pharmacists so that they could actually tell you the cash price of what you're paying for. So if you're going, your sweet little old lady neighbor is going to the pharmacy counter paying for a generic, which she assumes is very cheap, but the insurance cost is $40, but the cash price is $2, the pharmacist can say, hey, guess what? You can actually get this for $2.
One of the many money games that the middlemen did was to put in their contracts that the pharmacist at the counter was not allowed to talk about alternatives or prices. And that was, gagging. It's basically in the censorship regime mindset. We have liberated pharmacists to be able to talk to you honestly, just like we as doctors like to talk to patients honestly.
Absolutely.
And so it's a symptom of a larger problem, and that is healthcare has been taken over by middlemen, and we want people to be able to buy direct. That's what Trump RX is. It's an ability to bypass all the middlemen and buy directly from the seller. And it's going to link you to that seller so you can buy it at the best available price.
And so this is an administration run by, at HHS, run by a very powerful advocate with a team of doctors finally empowering patients. What else do you think people need to know about how the team of doctors at HHS is really finally giving patients more choice, more affordability, and better quality of products?
Well, I think what we have to do sometimes is recognize the government is not your doctor. We need to empower physicians, nurses, clinicians of all kinds to be honest with patients, give them advice, and use the best available science. When we get in this groupthink, centralized authority where all the power has to live in the government, we don't have a very good track record. The government told schools to shut kids out for nearly 2 years, for toddlers to wear a cloth mask for nearly 3 years. To mandate COVID vaccine boosters in a young, healthy 16-year-old student. And so we don't have a good track record when we use the sort of hubris of a centralized authority to make decisions. So we are empowering people, we're empowering doctors, nurses, clinicians of all kinds to make decisions with patients, and we're going to usher in the best available science. We just did that on testosterone therapy for men with low testosterone. There are topics that are taboo. We're talking about wellness. We're talking about food as medicine, the microbiome and gut health. This is the future of medicine. And if we just talk about gene therapy and chemotherapy, we're going to be very limited in what we can do to improve the health of the population. Because if you were to judge the U.S. healthcare system today by the magnificence of certain sophisticated therapies, like proton beam therapy, incredibly sophisticated operations like the ones I did at Johns Hopkins, gene therapies. There are miracles out there that are amazing, and you would say this is a success. American healthcare is a success. But if you judge the healthcare system on the ultimate metrics, which is the health of the population and the health of children, it's been a 50-year failure. And so we've got to we've got to right the ship. And so that's our primary goal, led by Secretary Kennedy.
That's amazing. And who knew that a team of doctors would empower doctors and patients and really making sure they can make the right decisions rather than bureaucrats of the past empowering other bureaucrats. So really appreciate the work you're doing over at the FDA. Really excited about the next, 9 months down, however many to go, but really excited. And thank you for coming this morning.
Good to be with you. Thanks so much, Hannah.